Hi everyone, it's Natalie here from My Movies, and I'm here today with Michele Blood. She's a fellow Aussie. Although, do you still call yourself an Aussie? How long have you been living here in the US?
Yeah, I'm still an Australian because I guess I'm always going to sound like an Aussie.
Excellent.
And I'm an Aussie at heart. So yeah, a world citizen from Australia. There
Exactly.
you go.
And Michelle's from Musivation, and she's also co-authored a book with Bob Proctor. And today what we want to talk to you about is visualization, meditation, and how you can combine the two to absolutely turbocharge your results. Now, I know, Michele, that you've had an awesome experience with visualization in a particular time in your life. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. I was a rock singer in Australia and was touring all over the country at one stage for 7 years non-stop, and had a near fatal car accident. And I was told I would probably never walk again, and if I did, I would have severe limitations. So I was suicidal. I thought, you know, if I can't be on stage singing and doing what I've done since I was 6 years of age, what am I going to do with my life? So I had a spiritual epiphany in the hospital. And to make a very long story short, what happened was I got these tapes about Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, and he was like an Australian female rock singer in Australia who had a spiritual epiphany through listening to these people talking about really successful men in America nearly 100 years ago. But when spirit of truth runs through something, whatever that information is, if you're ready, it wakes you up. But even if you don't think you're ready, you can still wake up by using certain methods, which we're going to speak about. And what I'm speaking about waking up, I mean, I'm walking again. I was in a wheelchair. And, you know, they don't want to speak about it. They did the thing on television in Australia and said, you know, like the miracle girl. And even the doctors said, well, you know, it is pretty amazing, because they can't legally say, oh, yes, it's a miracle. But what is a miracle? Just breathing every day is a miracle.
Yes, yep.
You know, so that is how that happened. But I can speak about going forward just a few years from there when I met Bob Proctor and what we did with visualization. Visualization is quite amazing, because when you use, because you know the subconscious mind doesn't know anything but now, and if you look at a picture, it only thinks it's real. And back when I used to be teaching this after, you know, because this is 1989, and I was teaching this, and I started working with Bob Proctor in 1991, just at the end of 1990 actually. And what happened was, we were getting together and we were in Malaysia and we're working all of these wonderful seminars and speaking about visualization. And it wasn't until 1996 that neuroscientists discovered these different things about the brain. So we had to give people this, what we knew was real, and they had to work it on faith. These days people don't have to work on faith. Neuroscientists have proven that our brain does function in this way. If you visualize something and you affirm it at the same time as if it's already happened, amazing things happen. I did this with my body, so I was walking again, using positive affirmations and music as well. And so Bob Proctor and I went to this huge centre in the middle of Kuala Lumpur, and we just finished writing this song called Motivasi Untuk Bangsa, which is motivation for the nation.
Right.
In Malaysian. And he said, okay, let's visualize how many people are going to be involved in a big concert here. And I said, okay, 15,000. He said, well, double it, always double it. And I said, okay, Bob, over 30,000 people are going to be here involved in our song. Okay, cut to just a year later. We had all of the most famous singers from Singapore and Malaysia do the song with me. It became a huge hit, and the Prime Minister of Malaysia decided it was going to be the song to bring in the new year. There were 300 musicians on stage and 50,000 people at the spot where Bob and I spoke about it.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? And I mean, that's the thing with My Movies. Originally when Ryan came up with the concept of My Movies, he knew that it worked. We just didn't understand why it worked. You know, and as we've gone along, we're doing a whole lot of work with personal development, and you talk about the science behind, you know, the mind, and how, you know, neuroscientists are doing all this extra research. We find that we have a lot of programming in there that we picked up as kids. You know, when you're between the ages of 0 to 6, basically you're a sponge. You're in what we call theta state, where you observe a lot of things happening, but you aren't able to respond. So, for example, let's say that if you see your mother freak out when she sees a spider, well, you just register that, you store that, then through repetition that becomes part of your programming. And it's not that you have a judgment either way. You can't have a judgment either way because you're young and you're in that state. And we found that My Movies actually helps to break that programming, helps to change the programming. Because like you said, the brain, when it sees an image, it can't differentiate whether it's existing or not, or whether it's reality or not, or whether it's there at that time or in that moment. But through repetition, you can actually visualize and manifest that coming into your life. And through repetition, you change that programming, which is just fantastic. Now, I know that that the science behind My Movies and why we know that works, and I know that you've had all that experience with visualization, but you've had an awesome amount of experience with meditation as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, see, the thing is, we can look at science and the mind and the brain. Wow, okay, now I know how it works. But do we? You visualize a car, you visualize yourself doing something that's way beyond your educational background or even your talent, and it's created. You think positive thoughts, you take action as well. How is it created? How is it really created?
Well, that's why doubt comes in, because people don't understand it. So they go, oh, well, I'm looking at this thing, but I don't really know if it'll come true for me, because they have that doubt because they don't understand how it works.
Well, even if someone has doubt, if they use those methods, it still works. Not as powerfully, but it still works. Yes. Now, this is the thing. How, even if you've got doubts, because everyone has fears and doubts come up, no matter who you are, when you're having a human experience. So even if for a while you think it's wishful thinking, if you do the thing, it still can work. I mean, when you have doctors saying this is your prognosis, this is what's going to happen, you have fears and doubts and extreme physical pain added to that, of course you're going to have doubts about whether you can walk again.
Absolutely.
But you have nothing to lose, right? So you think, okay, like I did, I'm visualizing myself walking again, wearing high shoes. I've got to have my high shoes. I'm only 5 foot. It's all going to be great. But of course those doubts and fears still came up. That's where meditation has saved my life.
Right. And so how do you meditate? I mean, because there's so many different trains of thought out there. What do you suggest is the best way?
Oh, thank you for asking. First of all, this is amazing. You and I here right now, at this time, at this place, whoever ends up watching it, you are actually in this energy field right now that we've created days before we even came here. This is what meditation does. It puts you in a field outside of human consciousness, beyond the third dimension. And it gets you to connect with your higher self. And I don't care if someone calls it God, it's beyond the universe. It's eternity itself within you.
Right.
And people, when they learn, there's many, many different forms of meditation. But if somebody can simply stop, whenever you're focusing on one thing, in that moment you are meditating. Some people just don't like the term meditation, like some people don't like the terms God or religion, or even visualization, or even imagination. They'd rather say magic, the word magic, and it is magical.